Good morning. I'm actually early today, which is probably going to throw a lot of people off. By early, I mean on time. Good morning, Sassy. So let me just put this link out, and we're going to get started early. This is exciting. This is pretty exciting times. So let me just see here and drop this in the trading room. It is May 18th. For those that are watching this, I've been asked to leave the date. And so there it is. And we will go from there. So let me just drop this in the Twitterverse and we will discuss earnings. We have a lot of earnings to discuss. A lot of earnings to discuss. And we will go from there. And let me just put this out there and just go. I'm going to give one that I think people should start watching. And let's drop this off. And all right, good. So I am set and I'm early. This is crazy. All right. Good morning, Sassy. Hey, Bannon, what's my thoughts on? I'm assuming that's Tesla. Is that Tesla or is there something TS asterisk A? Tesla. Got it. What's going on, Bannon? AMCR weekly channel break HRB. I'm guessing it's too late to chase, but perhaps there's a day trade. Let's take a look at AMCR and then I'll get into what I want to get into, which is earnings and some of these earnings plays and what to do about them. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're looking at. I mean, that's a breakout. Look, here's what I would be telling you about this. Okay, let's remove all annotations. Let me click always yes. So here's what I would focus on with names like this, right? And this is what I think you need to kind of put your head in. You have to understand where you are in the pecking order. Right now, you're right against this. Okay, no matter how you look at it, you're right against this line. Now, do we form a flag and go higher? We have absolutely no idea. We just don't know how this is going to play out yet. So we're going to have to watch the market. Now, could that break out today? Yes, it could. But if you're here and you're in a downtrend, you have to assume that these kinds of breaks are not going to work. You have to assume that breakouts are going to fail. Okay, and even though you're in an uptrend, on a micro level, on a macro level, you're still in a downtrend. Now you've broken that level in AMCR, right? Or AMCR. So let's say that you really want to trade this. First thing you have to do is go look at when the earnings are coming out. They're coming out. Second thing you have to go look at is that X dividend and how you act on X dividend. So you're buying right into X dividend. And look what happens every single time you get X dividend. Okay, so you're 4 days away. Now, the way to play this is buy it here, buy it, and then use what I just gave you as a stop, which is insanely tight, right? Actually, let's just flip that so we can even see it clearer, and then we can talk about it in greater detail. I'm just going to flip that to the bottom so you can see them a little clearer, right? So that's an insanely tight stop. Now, the problem with that stop is it's going to get triggered. You know that that's going to get triggered, right? When is it going to get triggered? It's going to get triggered on the dividend. So you have a question to ask yourself. Do you want to own it for the dividend or do you want to own it after the dividend and then go from there? To me, every time it comes out with dividend, that's it. It goes down for a period of time. I mean, there's not a time where it didn't go lower, except here. So keep that in mind. You have an X dividend out there, and that's going to move your stock, and it's going to trigger your stop. So you have to figure out if you want that or not. Let's get into earnings because I think this is really important. And I just want to go through this. Walmart's quarter was a disaster, right? Dumpster fire of the day, got roaded. It was pretty clear that it was. What I want to focus on and why I think this is important for you to understand is it's spreading. The consumer is not buying as much. It's not even that they're hitting their targets or missing their targets. It's that when they start drilling into there and they start looking at the transactions, you're having less and less sales. If you have less and less sales, that's not what you want. You don't want to be selling to less people at a higher price if you're Target or Walmart. You want more people, more traffic, right? That's what you want. Average cost going up, not going down, when you do the math. So something to think about. Now, this was the first stop that you could see. We're not even going to stop there. We're just going to keep on going. And you're going to just see this continue to come down. So I don't see any reason for this to change. Zero. And that's something that I would focus on. I just don't see any reason for this to change whatsoever. So keep that in mind. I think that the retailers, you're going to see them continue to blow up. I think both of them are still shorts on any rally. This is the next one that's coming out with earnings. And this is on my radar this morning. This is with a really tight stop before earnings. Of course, you could always trade up, but you're down 6%. Look, okay, this was last earnings. This was the other earnings. I can't imagine you're going to have a big earnings quarter. I just don't see how you're going into this. So I would think that we could possibly trade down, and maybe you could keep your short on, buy calls against it, and just be break even, and then see if you get a huge move down, which I think is very realistic that you're going to get something like that. So something to think about. I think this is the next one that could blow up. So that's where my focus is. In regards to other earnings, ZIM crushed. Dividend, $3, $2.85 to be exact. So I would definitely be watching this today. I think you'll see money come into it. This is a really simple trade. You're right on the 50. You had to buy it before the 50-day on the way down. I'm not so sure that was the move. Then people started wanting to accumulate it into the quarter. That seemed to be the move. If you could then buy it and move a put underneath of it to hold on to it, that's one way to do it, and then see how you do. But that's how I would view it. And this is what you're getting. You're getting a nice move higher, and that should continue. So that's the one that I would be focused on as far as buying earnings. I would not be buying any dips on Walmart, Target, anything like that. I would be really avoiding them. I pointed this out yesterday, and then I'll take more questions, and we'll go over Tesla, Bannon. But I pointed this out last night on Twitter. If you're following me here, I hope you're following me on Twitter. But if you see this move down, this is one of the strongest moves down we've ever had in consumer discretionary. Now, consumer discretionary is McDonald's, right? You don't have to go to McDonald's. You see how that's breaking the 50 for the first time? Starbucks. You don't have to go buy a $9 latte, right? So see where this is all going? Nike, okay? Besides their corporate structure and what's going on there, nobody's going out and spending $200 for a pair of sneakers right now when they're spending $400 a month on gas to get to work. So it's changing, and we're seeing those changes. So this can continue for some time. So I would not be chasing the retailers down. So I hope that's help. I hope that helps. Let's get to Bannon's question, which was Tesla. So let's talk about Tesla. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is Twitter. Okay. So where are we with Twitter, and what are the issues? The issues are he's going to either do one of two things. He's either going to get the company much, much cheaper. They're either going to sue him, and he's going to drag them through court for over a year, right? And he's going to drag all this material information out, which may have been his plan to begin with. You never know really what he's thinking. He's usually playing like three-dimensional chess, the way that the guy thinks. So this may have been his plan all along to do this. So let's just keep that in mind. Now, what does that mean? It means that we need to see what we're doing, and we need to see what we're going to do about it. So to me, it is a really tough buy, but I think that with where you're at in the market, you need to be leaning towards buying the dip now versus selling the rally. So I'm more of a dip buyer now on Tesla, even though we're this far off. Let me give you a couple examples of what is interesting me. So see this 5-day, you just got above it yesterday. Okay, let's see if we can get above it again today. This is getting tighter and tighter in this range. So it's possible that we start to turn and go higher. Now, you need to be careful if you're not going to buy the stock and you're going to play options. All right, because the option pricing is still going to be affected by what's going on here. So for me on Tesla, the big level is going to be this 756.57 level and this 724.86 level. They're my core levels that I've been wrestling with, right? Bonk, bonk. This one goes all the way back. Bonk, 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 right? You can see it, right? Resistance flips to what? Support, 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 Okay. Once like some people say, oh, it's not a level until it's tested. Well, it got tested here and it became a level. And it, right. So we know where this level was. I mean, it's not rocket science. Don't overthink it. But getting above that 5 is interesting. Now, I wouldn't mind understanding where everybody's in that's above the peak. So everyone that bought on this peak, this is where they're in, right? So we could get up to 950 fairly easy and then just still be in the downtrend. You could see even at this trough where people are in at, okay? So nobody's up in this trade. Now, if you go all the way back, let's go all the way back and take a look at the March low and see if we can, let's get rid of that 5 because it'll make it a little easier to see this, and we'll get rid of these levels. So all I'm doing by putting anchored VWAPs in certain spots, which I think is the better way to use anchored VWAPs, is understanding where they're at. So for me, this line not being tested is kind of a red flag. I would like to see this line tested, and we have not seen that. So can we get there? Yeah, it can happen. You could absolutely get there. You know, I don't hold anything. I'm going to get rid of all the VWAPs now. I don't hold anything sacred here. Okay. Nothing. So maybe people aren't going to go out and buy that $60,000, $80,000 new EV because they can't afford it anymore. Right. Because the housing prices are going up. The mortgage prices are going up. So I expect housing prices to come down, but not a lot of people want to get out of their mortgage. We were talking about this in the trading room. Not a lot of people want to get out of their mortgages right now to go get a new mortgage, right? I mean, if you go look at the pricing, it's substantive. So maybe you're dealing with that. For a longer term trade, you need to get above that level. And let's just fix that, flip that up, Bannon. And I think it makes sense to spend a little more time on this trade because this is something that you can make a lot of money with. So watch that 787 level and see if you're able to flip that. But right now I have an H and a bear flag. And I'm telling you that I'd still be looking at buying the dips on the news. But that's up to you and how you want to do and how you want to deal with it. But that's how I would look at trading it for now. So what's going on, Storm? What's up, bro? What's up, boss? Hey, Mandar. What's up, B? Okay, so what does it mean? This is a good question. What does it mean when Peloton gets 2 times order book on 750 loan sale? So let's go through Peloton and pull up the chart. So Peloton will probably get killed on this news. So they can't issue stock anymore, right? Because nobody wants their stock. Okay, nobody wants to own the stock at 15. No institution is going to just buy stock here. They've been around a long time. Right, the large institutions. So what are they going to do? They're going to ask for debt. Why are they going to ask for debt? So they can get a yield. So Peloton came out and issued debt at $750 million, okay, at 8%. Okay, so you're getting an 8% yield. Now, if you put that in the context, just to put that in context of what that means that if you own that bond, you're getting 8%. Okay. How long are they going to be able to pay this? Right. Probably not very long. Now, bank loans usually come with covenants and warrants associated with it, where they might be senior debt now. They might supersede all other debt. So people might be looking at this and going, oh, I'll buy that for 8% because when they go to zero or they go down, we're first in line. Right. I don't know the securitization level of this debt. I haven't looked into it that much. But if they're getting that amount of money, right, and you can do the math on this, right, and see that what that payment's going to be, $50 million a year just in debt interest payments now coming right out of their earnings. So this is going to come in. The stock's probably going to drop on this because this is basically what I refer to as a death spiral. They just start paying all their money out in debt, right, to try and stay afloat. So what's going to happen with this, or what does this mean? It means that oversubscribed 2 times book. And let's get back to his question now that we understand the places. So let's get back to that question. What does it mean? It means that the subscription for this was 2 times oversubscribed, meaning they tried to sell 750 million and they could have sold 1.5 billion. And the reason for that is because if you're a vulture fund or you're a hedge fund or you're a pension fund, you're looking at 8% and going, if I can get 8% on my money and this works, I can meet my targets. I can meet where my targets are. If it doesn't work and I get a year's payments out and then I go through the restructuring of the company, we're in first lien position. So I'd be interested to determine the lien position, but what it means is that you were oversubscribed 2-to-1 on $750 million, B. That's what it means. I hope that explains it. Rear view report. Doesn't surprise me. Execs would forecast the worst at this point when they look at geniuses. I don't think that that's what's going on here. Mandar is talking about the fact that they're forecasting for the worst and they look like geniuses if they outperform. I don't think that's what's going on here at all. I think that these people are caught completely off guard. So you have Regulation D out there where these companies are scared to have investors relations talk to anybody anymore. Okay, so this is like the SEC. So like, hello, we're from the government. We're here to help. These companies used to be able to talk and give guidance before and say, hey, things aren't going so great. So we didn't have 20, 30% drops because news would trickle out. They'd pre-announce. See how like Facebook's blowing up on news, like where you just no one's coming out with the news. It just drops, right? Same thing's going on all over the place because these new regulations are the way that they're being interpreted. They're not pre-announcing. They're scared to pre-announce. So we're just having blow up after blow up. That's not what's going on here. What's going on here is these companies are not forecasting accurately what's going on. They're not telling you what's really going on under the hood, and they're just hitting you with it. Now, this news on target, this is awful news. They're not throwing out the kitchen sink and dropping 25% so that they can look smart, man. They're worried about their job right now. So if I was a 10% shareholder, an 8% shareholder, I'd be on the phone this morning screaming at the CEO, screaming. So Walmart, blow up. Like this is not getting better, right? Amazon, first operational loss in 7 years. Okay. So this is telling you what's going on in the marketplace. And I would not be bottom fishing these and thinking that it's time to buy. I'm just waiting for them to bounce so I can short them, to be honest with you. I don't think that I don't think they're sandbagging is where I'm going with it. Yeah, I think that you're going to see that it doesn't even matter if it doesn't peak. If it just stays here, it's going to just keep wreaking havoc. And that's what people don't understand, it seems. Even if you just sit right here on inflation, you're still just going to wreak havoc. And that's going to be the issue, right? It's still going to get worse. And that's what you have to focus on. So just consider that. Now, I think I would not be a buyer of those names. What's going on, Daniel? GFF has been on the move. Let's take a look at GFF. Rip it. Yeah, someone's buying it. I don't know. Earnings? Dividend yield. Well, must be a huge dividend coming up. I'd watch, see what you do after X dividend. Maybe it's a big one-time dividend payment, but X dividends today. So just be careful there. I don't know enough about the story, Daniel. You can tell me more if you want about what the dividend is. If it's a huge one, or it must be, because look at earnings. Since then, people wanted to get in front of this dividend, whatever's going on here. And you can see that break, but I'd be really cautious unless you want the dividend. Vizio for the long term. Yeah, I mean, these types of companies long term, and people like buying a cheap TV, right? This was something we had on a long time ago. Let's get rid of all these annotations. But it's really hard to buy this here. I mean, maybe you hold that, maybe. So what I'd want to do is, you see how you're starting to base here? What I'd want to do with something like this is just throw in like the cloud, the Ichimoku cloud, and just see where I'm at in regards to it. And I'm still under it, right? So maybe I wait a couple weeks and see if I can pop into that cloud and then start going from there. These clouds are very helpful when you start going through stage ones. And you see how you went through a stage 4 here? So if you start entering a stage 1 and then you can pop out of the stage 1, you pop out the other side of the cloud, that's probably where I would look. So what's interesting about this is if you look at a month, right? That's why I like it. It's kind of a leading indicator. Actually, it is a leading indicator. But you look out to like June 24th and think of like, if I can get to $11 by June 24th, I'm actually out of the cloud. So I would wait and see what happens with it. It's not something I'd be chasing. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I mean, this is still showing that you're overbought to some extent. Not a lot, but you're overbought. So you're not like you're buying this super cheap from an oversold, overbought perspective. And what type of volume do you have? You have very little volume, but you're starting to pick up. Do you have earnings coming out? That's what people are looking at. Yep. So earnings were not abysmal, so that's good. But I don't know that I'd be buying this right here, right now. I probably want to look at the volume by price as well and just see where the players are. So if I can get over that level that we were just talking about, yeah, you have a big gap in here up to the $12 range. So something to think about, but I don't think you're there yet, personally. If you really wanted to play it, if you just really, really wanted to play it, at least get above that higher high, because you're having an issue with it. At least close above that level, because 3 times you tried and you've been unable to. So that would be my level that I would focus on. All right. That's how I would look at it. So HRB. Thanks for putting that back up there, Cameron. I don't know what's going on here. That's got to be some kind of, is that just earnings? Wow. Yeah, I mean, that actually looked to me like somebody was trying to buy it. Maybe they're doing great because people are trying to get as much money as they can on their return. That is a huge quarter, but very similar to what happens back here. I guess this is their quarter. This is their time to shine, right? So earnings per share, they've adjusted earnings surprise. They beat by a little bit. Earnings per share, let's just see what this is telling me. They beat by 10%. So they crushed. So they had a huge beat on earnings. I'd watch what would happen here. I mean, you're buying into the dividend. Again, you have to watch these dividend stocks. So maybe they're issuing a huge dividend, and that could be the issue behind it. But I would watch that. I wouldn't be chasing that. But that's a huge move. I mean, that is a big move on earnings, and especially getting over this. I mean, wow. Yeah, that's a really nice move. Big volume. But I don't know that I chase that. SOXL. Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning more towards the individual names right now. I can't make a higher high on that. You're really weighted down with NVIDIA, which does not seem to be able to get out of its own way. I'm leaning more towards buying just AMD by what's going on and what I see going on out there. But if you want to take a look at this, yeah, this could absolutely work. So see how this goes and go from there. But absolutely see how this plays out, and we'll go from there. I would not be in a hurry. There's a couple things that are going well for it. Here's your 5 pointing up, which is rare, but it's happened before right here. Then we'd put the 8 in, and the 8 and the 5 crossed here and then crossed back down. Now we're crossing again. So I have a buy signal, but I'm not over any higher high, right? Which is a little different than what I have here, where I have the buy signal and I'm over a higher high. So I'd be a little cautious here on the group as a whole. I like the group as a whole. You see how you're crossing here on ASML, right? So there's certain names that I think could benefit greatly. I think Taiwan Semi raising prices. If you're a long-term buyer of these kinds of names, you just got a signal. Okay. I mean, you just got a signal. It's not really any clearer than that. I can throw these in, but when you come out and you say, hey, by the way, we're going to raise our prices 10% and the stock's still trading down, it's telling you everything you need to know. So can this get worse? Of course it can get worse. Of course it can, right? Of course you could trade all the way back down to here. That could absolutely happen. But you know what? For me, I think you have to start looking at this and going, do you want to be a long-term buyer of this? Is this something that you're willing to sit with for a year or 6 months? Now, if the answer is no, then don't buy it. But I think that if you are a long-term investor, like looking at it again, a year or two, and you're not buying a company that's depressed like this, right? That has one, massive, and I mean massive utilization rates, right? And on top of that, you're raising prices. Why wouldn't you be all over this? That's kind of how I look at it. So keep that in mind. I would be focused on those kinds of names, very specific names, inquisitive. I'd be focused on GFS, right? We're raising prices. Utilization is up. Get me over a higher high. And now all of a sudden I have a real trade, right? Get me over this. I'm actually going to put a little note right there to let me know. I want to know exactly when you hit there. And let's do it all. Let's do it up. So that's where my head would be. Okay, that's where my focal point would be. So cool. At least you got it, B. Peloton, Coin, CVN, ARC. So let's talk about Peloton, Coin, CVN, ARC. So Peloton, Peloton, them issuing that debt tells you that they're dead. To me, like that, it's what we would refer to when I was in investment banking as just the death spiral, right? You're just, when I used to work for an IB like decades ago, and I was very fortunate because I got to understand how these balance sheets work and what they mean. When you are bleeding like that and you have to go out there and pay, 8%, and the 10-year is at 3%, and you're paying 2.5 times the 10-year, you have a problem. Okay. You're basically issuing junk, securitized junk. And that's 50 million a quarter that's coming, or 50 million a year. Now you have to pay every quarter. There goes 10 million every quarter. So to me, it's a money grab. And they're going to wind up losing, and this will trade itself back down to probably nothing. So I like that as a short. CVNA has massive issues. We've done exceptionally well with it. We've been shorting it for a long time. You just got to be careful, because when you're this oversold, you can just bounce at any time. You could just have a bounce at any time up to like a 50-day moving average, right? So, some people might want to play that. That's not really my kind of trade. I don't want to be buying companies that I know are going to blow up. This moved yesterday based upon what happened with Bitcoin. This is coin we're looking at. And I don't see any reason to change my opinion on this at all. Not even a little bit. So it's definitely something that I would be focused on. Definitely something I'd be focused on. Yeah, I can't believe that's all they're going to pay is 9 cents on that dividend, the way that that's moving. I mean, it's moving like something else is going on, boss. So I would have to read more into that. RK, yeah, I mean, look, to me, if we're going to roll, I would just buy this, okay? I was looking at this yesterday, and just the fact that you're holding that wick line right here was pretty fascinating to me. So, and if you take a look at this here and just put an anchored VWAP, like you could come all the way down to here, and these people would still be up. So you're going to have some support in this name for now. I would watch this. I would watch SARK really closely. I know some people are buying this so they can get more leverage. Maybe this works here. This might not be the worst idea to buy this 2x ARC trade here, right? Maybe it marks the bottom. Oops. Hold on. That's not what I wanted. Maybe that marks the bottom. Are you willing to, lose $2 if it doesn't work, right? If you get above that, I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to map that trade out and see if it makes sense for you. Take a look at ARC. I mean, it's getting to the point where everything that she owns is so depressed that I don't see, I don't know. I mean, does it get cut in half again? I don't know. I really don't. I was watching this level. I got to where I wanted to get to with it. I can't get, you got literally within, I wanted 34 3/4. I got the 35.10. And the one thing that I was showing, let me pull this up. When you see volume like this, right? That kind of volume, where you have that kind of selling, and then the next day you have a reversal like that, that is a clear bottom signal. That is complete selling exhaustion where people are saying, that's it. I've had enough. Get me the heck out of this. Now, all you have to look at over that period of time to kind of understand where I'm going with this is just look at the relative volume, okay? And just go, well, look at the relative volume here on that selling day. Okay, so I'm over 2 times on the selling day. And then you kind of go through this and go, when was the last 2x selling day, right? Well, wasn't really here, was it? Right? Maybe here, maybe, right? This was a buy that spiked it. You could actually argue that this buying right here, that might be it. But when else do you have that? And then you kind of go through them and you look for them and go, well, here's one. Okay. So what happened there? Well, that gave us a nice bounce, right? In the downtrend, right? Because you were in a downtrend even then, right? So you bounced. So see where I'm going with this? So when you start looking at it from that perspective and you're this oversold, like, because you are oversold no matter how you slice it. Let's get rid of these. I mean, no matter how you slice it, once you undercut this level and you bounce back through it, you should bottom on some level. So I'm not a big short this right here. Unless we're going to see, and I'm not saying that they're not going to, but unless we see T-Doc going out of business, which very well could happen, or Coin, which is another one of their things, they're buying it. They're buying Coin at $40. They just bought a bunch of Coin at $40, $50. Everyone's like, oh, they're crazy. Well, she just made, 40% on her money. So do you think that they're not going to scale out of some of that and lock it in? Of course they are. So the cycle will keep completing itself until she gets washed out. I'd be really careful shorting it here now. I like the other shorts from a story spot, but I'd be careful shorting that. What's going on, Jack? I'd be careful buying NVIDIA into earnings. That's all I can tell you. I would not be buying NVIDIA into earnings. Okay, I don't know if they're going to hit capacity constraints. I don't know if you're going to have good news that then gets reviewed as bad news, right? I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't tell you to buy this before earnings, unless you're going to try to buy it before earnings and then trade up in it and then marry a put to it, right? Like maybe you think you can get in and up in this, right? And then you're going to get up and in, and then you're going to hold the 204 level, right? And then you're going to buy a call or a put behind it to stay in the trade into earnings. I mean, maybe you're going to do that. I don't know. You could be trying to do that and then say, okay, well, if I break below this 173.07, I'm going to get out, right? I'll take that loss. So like maybe if this trades down to like 174 and you want to take that risk for $1, I mean, that's not the end of the world for a trade, right? If this is going to reverse. And I would be looking at buying semiconductors on pullbacks now and seeing how long that trade's going to work. And I'd be doing that and buying semis on pullbacks as long as the Qs are above the 5-day. When they break that, again, I will reverse and either get out of the way or look at shorting them again. If you use that as a guideline, you'll find yourself, not being in these names very long. Like if you're not buying, if you're on the short side until you're above the 5-day, you'll find that you really haven't gotten that hurt on what's going on right now. So use that as a guide. There's a reason that if you follow along in the newsletter, and if you don't, I would make sure that you subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. There's a free version of it. But the reason I say that is you'll see that, I mean, it's very rare that we'll put any kind of semiconductors in there right now. So, but you got to figure out what your plan is there. So, yeah, I don't think they're getting it either, Travis. I really don't. I mean, I think they're starting to get it, watching Walmart blow up, watching Target blow up. I mean, these guys are just getting eviscerated. I gave a level this morning of watch 166. And if you break that, you're going to have an issue. I mean, you could have shorted it at 166, right? And it's always crazy to me how this stuff just matches perfectly to these longer term charts. It's always crazy to me. Like this little spot right here from March, right? March 2001, and look how you stop there on a 15-minute. And then they just clear out that buyer and then bonk, bonk. So, this could be down 30, 40% today. It was an awful quarter, awful. And people are just going to get sick of it and just start blowing stuff out. I mean, that's what's going to happen. But I agree, Travis. I agree with what you're saying. Good morning, JMIA. Yesterday, looking at SSYS continuation today. JMI, look, could they have a good quarter? Yeah, fine. I mean, they had a good quarter. I'd be really careful here. I'd be really, really careful rushing into these kinds of names here. It's a good quarter. You're playing that they're going to have a decent quarter, I guess. I don't know. It's not my kind of play, that's for sure. It just isn't. I don't know what else to say, Fred. SSYS, yeah, I mean, that's going to go higher. It's just going to grind. Right? That should grind higher over time. It should, but I mean, you just have so much resistance to get through. So much. So I'd watch that. I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah, I think that if you can take a longer, let's say you want to buy Vizio and you're looking out like months, I think you're better off if you could just use this as a guide, right? And say, I want to buy Vizio. Like, you make the decision, right? You've made a decision. You want to buy Vizio. Just use this cloud and say, because the cloud eventually will catch up. And just say, I'm not going to buy it till I'm on the other side of this cloud. And then I'm going to buy it because I'm looking long term. And if you do that, it gives you at least the opportunity that it's going to hold. And then you break below the cloud, you get out. I mean, sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. But, if you go back and take a look, since you've broken that cloud and tried to bounce back over it, you haven't been getting through it. So let it prove itself, because the cloud will get smaller now as this goes down, right? When you start understanding how this cloud's calculated, the cloud will actually start getting smaller. So, it might not be June that you're buying it. It might be July and you're buying it at 8 because the cloud got smaller. So just let it pop its head over and then give it a shot. And you can see it's done it twice already. It hasn't worked. So you still have to have a stop in place, but that's going to give you a guide on how to get out of stage 1 stuff pretty quickly. Like if you use the cloud now for stage 1, you're going to be setting yourself up. Bob, I carried some AMD overnight. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with it this morning. I'm going to watch the open. So I closed. I was up. When it closed, I was up $1. This morning, I'm down $1 in it. I may just blow the thing out and get out of the way and see how it settles. I want to watch the opening print and the opening price and see how it acts. But I like it. I mean, this is the one. Look, let's get rid of this cloud. This is the one, to me, I made a higher high. I broke out. I made a higher high. I had to get through 100. I got through 100. I did everything I needed to do. Now, what's been happening in these downtrends is that you're doing everything you need to do, right? Like you're breaking out these higher highs, just like you did here. And then they're reversing you, right? See that? Bonk. And then they reverse. Then right? Then you make a higher high and then they reverse. I mean, this is the game, right? Like I have this saying that a lot of you have heard, that you're playing against the smartest, most disciplined people in the world. So they keep triggering us. And did they just trigger us again? We're going to find out. And if they did, then they got me for $1 and I'm out of the way, right? But to me, I think it made sense because if you take a look at this here, put this 50 in, get rid of the cloud. To me, it makes sense because one of these days over the 50, this is going to go. Now, this one went up 7% when we were over the 50. So maybe I can get 7% out of it. I don't know. Right now, this is just telling me that this market wants to puke over what they're seeing on the retail side. And maybe they puke it all day. They very well could. I'll just get out of the way. I don't need to be in until this settles. But I would be I'm leaning towards buying than selling right now until we're up below the 5-day. MCK. So, yeah, what do you call it company? Aren't they yeah, I mean, I get this. I'd be cautious. I don't see it as overbought. I would just be cautious of the wicks. Let's get rid of this. That's must be from olden times. And let's just look at it from that perspective, right? Because look how clean that is. I mean, that tells you where your issue is, right? So let's get rid of the pre and post to make sure what we're looking at is accurate. And we can see that it is accurate, right? Look at the bonking. Bonk, right? Bonk. So rejection after rejection. I mean, it tells you where you need to be. Doesn't mean it's not going to break. Like, look, here, let's look at this. Okay. I mean, this was kind of my point with this one. So, right, bonk, bonk, bonk. And then now what do we have? This. Okay, what do you have today? This. So, you bonk until you don't, right? And one of the sayings I have is you keep knock on the door long enough that it's going to open. You might not like what's on the other side of the door, but the door is going to open. So, but that could work, but get through that. I don't know about the Yoda of trading. I think you're telling me I'm green, fat, and old. Good morning, the Yoda of trading. AMD really struggling with that. Yeah, it is, bro. It really is. I'm long it, but I'm down $1 right now in the trade. So I might just blow it out, Dan, honestly. Thoughts on Boyle and Gush over the next couple of weeks? Let's go through them. Let's take a look. So, and let's talk about what is Boyle. Here's my biggest problem in buying this. I come in one day, I'm a genius, okay? The next day, I'm down. I come in one day, I'm a genius. The next day, I gap down. I can't play this because I don't want the gap risk, right? I don't want this gap risk. So I can't play this. Where's natural gas going? Higher, okay? Natural gas is going higher, but the real play is gasoline. Okay, that's the real play because we don't have the refining. Okay, so that's the real play. So let's go talk about Gush. Okay, S&P oil and gas exploration and production. Production we're producing, that's fine. But here, let me do it this way. Lower high, lower high, lower high. Okay, so it's not that you're not going to get more drillers right now with the current administration. It's not a political statement; it's a fact. I mean, he just pulled leasing out of Alaska. The issue is, and look, the issue is not that we need more oil. We need more oil. The issue is that we need more refining. That's where we're really running into the issue. So keep that in mind. For me, that's really your core problem. So I'd watch that and I'd see how we do with that. And then go from there. But I would not be a buyer of this until I make a higher high. Because to me, this is setting up like this. I'm going to show you something so you can get this, Dan. See this? See this cross right here? Let me show you a chart that everyone's going to remember and go, oh. So this is that chart right here. Okay, so let's get rid of that line. Right? Let's put this up here for a minute. Let's get rid of all this. So it's not, let's get rid of all these annotations so it's not distraction. See how this 50 is right here? See how this is just riding this straight down, right? Higher, low, higher, low, higher, right? Lower, high, lower, high. I need coffee, man. Lower, high, right? Lower, low, lower, low, lower, low, right? So you're in a wedge. You have that wedge up here, right? Now, I'm not comparing them. What I'm trying to do is get you to understand patterns. So I'm hitting lower lows and lower highs, right? Because, I mean, obviously these two companies have nothing to do with one another. But you see this cross right here? Just go take a look at this now. Does that look similar to what we just experienced? So how long does it take before that breaks? Right? Okay, it could be 2-3 months, but it's setting up to break. So you need to understand that, right? This is setting up to break. As soon as we get below these, it's setting up. So I need to make a higher high in order to break that. So I need to get above 191 before I'd even consider that, right? There's always signs ahead of time, right? Like here, let's get rid of all this annotations for a moment. Like here, same exact trade, higher, low, same exact trade. You're above it, higher, low, right? Lower, high. You get it, okay? So I'd be cautious. Exploration and production is not my issue. You're going to get all that you need from the majors, right? You're going to get all you need from the majors. It's going to be the refineries that are going to, and the end users like Phillips 66, that these are the companies that are going to run. So I would be watching. I don't know that I'd be buying Gush. You kind of watch this with like rig, and people are wondering like, why isn't rig going up? Because they're not going to drill more. So I'd be careful there. Now I like dividends right now. Yep. Please like the video. It helps us get in front of more people and get more ideas. The more ideas that we generate, I can't look at everything. So the more ideas we generate, the more money we all make. So please like the video, share it on social media. It does help. We do get more people. And I want the same kind of people we have in the room already. And in this chat, and like attracts like. Good morning. Can you look at GTE? Their earnings were a loss, but sales increased 20%. Earnings were sales. Okay, let's take a look. GTE. So yeah, let's get rid of all my nonsense and clean it all up. And let's start over. So, right, that's all you need to look at right here, brother. Look where you're at. Look what's going on there. Right? See? You want to buy that? I mean, it's not something I'd be rushing into, but this is a really simple trade. Utilize the doji for what it is, giving you a great entry. Buy it over 165. You close here. I mean, it doesn't get any cleaner than 158, right? So if you want to take a shot, take a shot. Look, sometimes they're going to work and sometimes they're not. Like this is one that we tried when it broke a doji and then it didn't work. One time it worked. Right? Another time it didn't work. So you just try it. But when it breaks those dojis, when you break those dojis, just get out of the way. Like don't hang out there. There's no reason to. So, right? Just get out. So use those two levels I just gave you. Hit the like. Thanks, Ross. Any thoughts on Doc? Let's take a look. Docs. Let's take a look on Docs. I wouldn't go near this. I mean, you can't even get over a higher high. And I think you just had earnings too, right? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go near this. It looks like you're down already on earnings, down another 13%. I mean, I would just avoid this. To me, it's probably just an outright short. That's how I would view it. So I'm going to have to wrap this up. Yeah, market is dumping. The cloud to me is more useful on a longer term basis. You can use it on short term. I think there's better things to use on short term. I make more money off of RSI on short term than anything else. And VWAP trading and patterns. Way more than I do off of the cloud. For me, long-term understanding that cloud tells you everything you need to know because it tells you where the players are. It actually charts human behavior if you understand it. So I don't know about all that. I'll take it. You wouldn't mind being yeah, it's coming in. Thanks, Damien. Tesla, we went over. Let's do. I did go over Tesla at the very beginning, Paul. For time's sake, I'm not going to do it again. I will just tell you, I'm a dip buyer of it. I'm more than a seller right now, but it can go a lot lower. So it tight stops. Look, this is a bear flag. I just used this. See this little anchored VWAP? Like, the one thing about anchored VWAP is some people will put them everywhere. They have positions where, like, if you want to know where the players are, I want to know where all the players are that bought this dip. That's why I have one here. So let's look at where all those players are that bought that dip. When I break that, all the players that bought this dip on average are done. So to me, I'd be really careful here. I think that these trades are done. I blew out of all of these, all of them. I'm out 100% completely of all these. And I really want to short this again. And maybe I just got my chance today. I'm hoping that I get something more substantive to really put the short on. I think I'm going to have to wait for a daily break and then just use the risk. But I think I'm going to have to wait for like something like this to break 205. My little trades are not really working. I need a reversal. I need the H, which I may get now, right? Because now I'm underwater. He's completely underwater in his position. But watch that level, because if you break that level, this is going a lot lower. And look, this is what the market does. It's been setting us up, right? Setting us up, thinking that we're going to break out and then just setting us up. So there's no reason that just didn't do it again to us, Paul. If Bitcoin goes to 20,000, MicroStrategies gets halved of where it is right now. That's my thought. I think that's how I'm looking at it. So if Bitcoin drops a third, I think MicroStrategies gets cut in half. That's where my head is. DLO and Globe. No, my friend. So you need to start looking at what's actually moving, right? This is bidding up $10 or 10%. I don't care. I will be on the other side of stuff like this all day shorting it, right? These kinds of names that are running on this kind of stuff, Globe, same thing. You had your day. That's all you're going to get out of these names, okay? These names are dead. You need to look at where the money's going, not where the money's been. I think it was Gretzky said it, right? Watch where the puck is going, not where it's been. So move on. Different names. Look for different names, my friend. Thank you. Can you make money trading them? Yeah, you can, but just be careful because they're not going to be around. What's going on, Di? Hope all things are well. KMI. So here's what's going on. And you can just see that I like it, but you got to break out here. You're having some issues. So let it break out before you go near it. Breakout is clearing all these nasty red bars and getting you over 2033. All right. So what's going on, Steve? Thank you, buddy. Let's have a great day. Row bringing up the rear with TM, DX, and PXD. Let's do it. No. I see you're bidding up, but look at this level. You got to get through 3150. Until you get through that, I wouldn't go near it. PXD. Yeah, I like this. Well, look at that. Energy. If only someone was telling me that energy sucks, we're going to go higher. Yep, I like that. Look at that. 777. Wow. Coming in the ex-dividend. Just watch ex-dividend date. You get 7 trading days. I like that. I like that a lot. You get a higher high here. This could push. Very similar to this, bro. Very similar to that, what you're saying. Okay. Very similar. So when you have days like this where you can break these lines and then you're going to go, and now you went through X dividend, very similar. Hey, John, let's do these two, and then I got to jump. So these will be the last two. So if they don't interest you, get out. I want this to pull back before I get involved again, which means that it will not pull back. But I want this down near the 50 again before I buy it, which probably means that I don't get it again. I don't have a full position on this at all. So it just keeps whacking me around. Really watch Bitcoin today. It looks to me like today's the day it's going to break. And VTNR, yeah, I think that you need to watch that level. I gave it last night, 15.25. Watch that level. All right, I got to jump. I got to hop in the room. But yeah, watch 15.25, Sean. Everyone, trade.